Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be good on Wednesday.
All right. We are recording. Welcome to the Geekmore podcast, your favorite podcast where you come to listen or watch, depending on how you view this. Your four people talk, debate, and argue over their top four Mount Rushmore, if you will, favorite pop culture subjects. Today's pop culture subject, as you can tell by looking either at your listening device or looking at your Facebook screen or looking at your YouTube screen, it doesn't matter. We do it all. Is our favorite is the Geekmore of movie vampires. Just in time for Halloween. I am Mary Shines. With me as usual is Debona
What up, y'all?
and Mike.
Yo, I just realized my background is from a game show thing that I was doing. Hold on, I gotta fix it.
I thought it was like the Umbrella Academy, not the Umbrella Academy. What am I thinking about here?
I thought it was like a news broadcast, like the Daily Show.
Anyways, we also have Dave back. Dave's back.
All right. Howdy. I'm glad to be back.
Back again. David's back. David's back. David's back.
You know what threw me for a loop? We didn't do the intro.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It was like all of a sudden you were like, and was like,
we're live. I was
the
like,
timer.
Okay.
Well, you know why? Is because I've been recording from the ship for the last 2 weeks and I don't have the recording for. Actually, we do have on the ship, don't we?
It's the same. It's
Yeah.
the same.
I've been gone
lives
for
on
2
the
months. I
cloud.
don't know how long, how much this shit has changed. I was like, listen, man, I'm back. I'm back to being the new guy.
Nice. All right, hold on.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Bazinga.
Two in the box. Ready to go. We be fast. They be slow.
Cool.
All right.
Hey.
If you listen to the audio version of this, that was done in the correct order. So you did not miss anything. God bless post-production. If you're watching us live, welcome to the Geekmore podcast. You could watch us live on our Facebook or our YouTube or our Twitch. No, we don't have Twitch Geekmore. No.
Geek Bro has it.
Yeah,
Woo Bro has it, Twitch.
So make sure you guys check us out. Either way, links in bios and everything. Thank you guys for checking us out. How did you guys come up with your selections for the Geekmore of movie vampires? Debona, how did you do that, man?
So this was one of those ones I didn't have a huge list, but then I had a hard time narrowing the few that I had down to 4. Like it got really tough for me. Man, I just tried to think about how cool the vampires were. I tried to not necessarily let the movie as a whole kind of figure in, but a lot of times the movie being cool puts that vampire in cool situations. But I tried to think of people who are vampires who embody just kind of different parts of being a vampire and kind of different types of things. I tried to get a little bit of everything, but man, it's really just about who's dope.
Okay, who does the drugs? All right. Yeah. Mike, well, how did you come up with your selection?
I was very literal in the sense that this is a movie vampire individual, like one vampire.
Right.
Yes.
So I realized in the process, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. But then I was like, oh, I like these movies, but not a lot of the individual vampires stand out to me, except for like a handful. And then it was like, damn, there's some really good vampire movies that I would like to put on a mountain, but the individual vampires aren't better than these other guys. And I don't want to like
some are not better than their
like
not better than their part. Yeah, I get it.
The whatever the saying is.
I'm massacring the saying, but
yeah,
you got it.
Yeah.
It's so glad to be back.
I'm still doing the Hispanic mom thing where she gets all the sayings incorrect. It's like it's better to have 2 in the hand than fool me twice, and you're like, what?
You fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again.
Yeah.
But basically it was essentially the ones that stood out to me the most. And then also I did not want to pick the obvious ones. I don't want a perfect mountain on this one. I want like a different. I picked some that I hope no one else picked. I hope I'm the hipster pick of like the this one is I'm the only one that remembered this one.
Okay. Okay. Dave, how did you come up with your selection, man?
I just like that Mike thinks he's talking hipster when
no.
I mean I like
I'm still gonna pick a good one.
movie
I'm still
expert
picking
here.
good ones.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I kind of limited myself. I said it has to be a
talkie.
Well, it has to be. Surprisingly, no.
Half of David's list. Like, fuck.
Damn, all right, so taking off this one. So no, I limited myself to vampires that were actually vampires. So if they were like half vampire, like I'm sure one that might make this list, he was taken out because he's not a full vampire, right? Also, if there was a question as to whether
you're the gatekeeper of like vampire DNA. It's like wasn't it the whole thing is like you're not a full blood, you're a fucking like you're
like Dave's eliminating mudblood vampires. Like, fuck them. I want to see your 23andMe.
Exactly. So and then there's also vampires that like you're not sure if they're actually a vampire or if they're just fucking nuts, right? So vampires like that didn't make my list either. So I do have like an honorable mentions list for those kinds of things. The other ones I went with my favorites. My number one came to me immediately as soon as you said this. I knew what it was going to be, like no questions asked. It was just a matter of ordering. The other ones I kind of already knew what they were going to be, and that was it.
Okay. Yeah, I just went with the vampires that I liked in movies, and let me tell you something. I am hard pressed to think that anybody else is gonna have two of my picks. I mean, the other two pretty popular, but these I got two in my pocket that I'm like, okay. And if it's repeated, great, because I would love to see them make the final mountain. But bro, let me tell you something. You get these two, son of a bitch. Good for you. There's congrats involved. But I'm with Mike in this one. A lot of these movies are good in general. But then you're like, I don't know if one vampire stood out the most. I did not check their 23andMe. So I don't know their lineage. I didn't go that far, but I will say that I picked them based upon a lot of these some of these are nostalgia picks. Is like I remember this he was a vampire, right? That counts. So there you go. That's how we came up with our selections. I gotta be honest with you, man. I am what was that sound?
That was Facebook.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Is my Facebook open? I don't think my Facebook.
It's not mine.
All right. Cool. All right, so let's get on to our number 4. Damn it! Why is it not available? Son of a bitch. Sorry, guys.
With the number 4s.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to have had it. It's supposed to have been up already, and I don't know what happened. Hold on. And of course, if you're listening to the audio version of this, it's like we haven't missed a beat, buddy.
Look at the majestic podcaster in his native habitat, trying to fix things on the fly.
With the 4th pick.
Number 4. Round 4.
I'm in no mood for your wives' crack. Let's get it on.
This episode's gonna come in with a lot of duct tape on it.
But it's invisible. It's like that see-through duct tape that you can't really see it's there unless you're specifically looking for it.
Or watching live right now.
The Bona, what do you got for your number 4?
My number 4. So the way that you think of the vampire, usually very seductive, and this is the vampire that really turned the corner for a lot of males on being a seductive vampire. My number 4 is Santonico Pandemonium from Dusk Till Dawn.
Table. I could have said table before you even said table. Before as soon as you said seductive, I was like table.
Oh man. All right. What was the name?
Santonico Pandemonium. It's some Hayek.
Yeah, I was like, can we just say Salma Hayek? I mean, do we have to say that shit?
Yeah, we all know.
I've never even knew that character had a name. I'm like,
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, they
introduced her.
introduce her.
Yeah. And the
Grovel
judging
at
by
her
how
feet.
Salma Hayek is actually aging, still a toss up of whether or not she's a
Possible.
vampire. It's possible.
Yeah. All right. So Salma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn. I like the fact that Mike's like, nobody's gonna have my picks. First one out of the gate.
Oh, that's not the one.
All right, Mike, what's your number 4?
Whistler from Blade 2.
Oh, all
right.
Okay.
Because that was first of all, I love that character of Whistler. I loved Chris Christopherson. Chris Christopherson is one of those like underrated actors where like, and he's a great country musician also, if you want to go listen to his record.
Has he been old his entire life?
Yeah,
He's
always.
one of those guys.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that's just been old forever. And he, in the first movie, he's this like badass guy, you know, helping out Blade and all that stuff. And then the reveal in Blade 2 was huge. And then they like, I remember like watching Blade 2 and being like, oh fuck, you know, like, and also he's kind of ruthless, you know, like he kind of becomes this kind of ruthless vampire. He's like punches the shit out of Blade and all that stuff. But I love the idea that he was turning at the end of Blade 1. He was like turning into the vampire and he offs himself. And then or you think so, and then at the end, and they wait a whole other movie to bring him back, and then it becomes this kind of like, I was working for the bad guys all the time, the whole time, you know, everyone's confused on whether or not you can trust him. Norman Reedus is in that movie, and
yes,
also
good.
yeah, and he's eating Krispy Kreme donuts and being all fucking dope. Like all of the characters. Blade 2 is my least favorite Blade movie, but it has the best characters in it.
You like Blade 2 less than Blade 3?
I love the first one. I love the first one.
But you're saying Blade 3 better than Blade 2.
No. Oh, well, no. Okay.
I gotta be honest with you. I enjoy Blade 3 a lot. The only thing that kills it is the Dracula. I really.
Oh yeah, no, I don't diss Blade 3. I'm just saying
Trinity's
better
fine.
than 2 is.
Yeah.
Blade 2, the characters are so much better than like the actors playing the characters do such a good job that it kind of like the story feels a little more disappointing to me sometimes. Like I'm watching these guys. I love all of the characters and I would have loved to have watched them do anything else. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, I love the characters in this movie. Oh, was the movie good? No, but everyone was awesome.
I enjoyed the movie. The only thing I didn't like was Dracula being a d-bag. The only thing I didn't like, but everything, the fight scenes were fucking spectacular. Like it was great.
Ryan Reynolds looking like he's just carved out of
Christ.
marble.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds making me question my sexuality.
Oh,
like legitimately was the thing. I was like, I clutched my pearls. I was like,
well, let's just say the spectrum is never in question.
Yeah,
the spectrum existing is no one's doubting it at all.
That's where it began. That's where it began. I'm like,
yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, when he's like chained up and Triple H is beating the piss out of him while he makes smart ass comments.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The smart ass comments also make it. He's extra handsome because of that. But yeah, my number 4 is Whistler from Blade 2.
All right. So we have Salma Hayek, and I refuse. And I refuse. It's like I was gonna give a fucking Patrice O'Neill reference. Nobody's gonna get that shit. All right. Salma Hayek. All right. And then what do you got for number 4, Dave?
My number 4, I was assuming might get tabled. It is Lestat de Liancourt.
Yeah, that's which one?
From which one?
Oh, that is
Interview with the Vampire.
Then no, I'm kidding. Yeah,
yeah. Well, but hey,
Queen of the Damned, get the fuck out.
The it is movie vampires, right? So does it matter which movie it's from?
Yeah, because one of the movies he sucked. And the other
yes.
I guess the portrayal matters. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So okay, table.
Okay. Yeah. My number 4 is Mark Kendall from Once Bitten.
That's Nick Cage?
Nope, that's
Oh.
Jim Carrey.
Oh, Jim Carrey.
Carrey.
That's Jim Carrey
I
in
don't
the
think I've ever
first.
seen this.
What?
Yes,
It's in
I'm
the.
thinking of Vampire's
Family
Kiss.
Share.
Once Bitten is Jim Carrey.
It's in the It's in the Family Share. Once Bitten was the first time was my introduction to Jim Carrey, even though I didn't know it at the time.
Mhm.
I didn't watch Once Bitten as a kid, going like that guy. He's gonna make it. I mean, this guy's gonna own the world one day.
Was this the first thing he did after Living Color?
No, this was before In Living Color, sir.
Oh, really? Okay.
Around,
Yes.
yeah, kind of like
No, not a count. It's definitely before In Living Color. Like it's
Oh.
undeniable. It's before In Living Color. He had done Rubber Face, and then he did Once Bitten.
Oh, okay.
And then the Wayans brothers were like, "You want to be in our show?" So I have this is a total nostalgia pick. It's in the Family Share. The movie's not good, but I will say, when you're a kid growing up in the 80s and you're watching this movie, and he is slowly turning into a vampire. She's turned him into a vampire, but in this mythos, it takes some time. He has to complete something, and he has to like have human blood to then complete the metamorphosis. And he's slowly but surely doing that. A teenager working with ice cream. Like he has an ice cream truck. And then so already as a fat kid, I'm like, I'm in. Fucking this ice cream truck is gold. So, and then the one that bit him was a female vampire who was seducing him, who to 8-year-old kid was fucking fine. And she came out in a black lingerie, and I'm like, I'm fucking in this movie. And I watched that movie on fucking repeat over and over and over again. And I have very fond memories. He's at my number 4 for that reason, because it's a pure nostalgia pick. I'm acknowledging that. I'm nowhere am I saying that this was a good movie or that it, but I even bought the movie. It's in the Family Share out of pure nostalgia. I'm like, oh,
now I have to watch it. Because
Dime Piece,
I wanna watch
Karen Coppin's in that movie.
Yeah.
And like the trope of once you become a vampire, you slick your hair back and wear the leather jacket, man. Oh god, it's yeah. No, is it a great movie? No, hell of a fun watch though.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the quotes, and some of them are pretty funny. Like
I'm telling you, and this is one of those movies where it was established that it was a comedy. It wasn't like a comedy.
Yeah.
It was established that it's going to be a comedy. But it was great.
It is not on the top 150 vampire movies on IMDb. 150.
There's a lot of vampire movies that come out. You know, just to be honest and just to be fair, I've said that it's not a good movie. However, I will say this: I would watch that movie right now in 2021 10 times before I watch another before I ever watch fucking Twilight Twinkle Stars over there ever again. And I bet you Twilight made that fucking list. So that list to me,
it did.
That list
Twilight.
to me means fucking shit. Yeah, that list to me means nothing. All right, so the number 4s we have Selma Hayek from Dust Till Dawn, Whistler from Blade 2, Lestat from Interview with a Vampire, and Mark Kendall from Once Bitten. Those are the number 4s.
Round 3.
3 is a magic number. Yes, it is.
All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. So what do we got for number 3, Debona?
My number 3, this will be my hipstery pick. So let's see if it's one of the ones you guys thought nobody would get. My number 3 is Eli from Let the Right One In.
That's a great pick, man.
If you have never
seen Let the Right One In?
Oh my god,
I've never even heard of this.
There's an American there's an
you'd like that
American
one,
remake, I think, but I actually haven't seen that. I'm talking about the Swedish Let the Right One In. Eli is a little girl that you eventually find out is a vampire, and she falls in love with this latchkey kid that lives in this same apartment complex as her after he becomes just fascinated by her before he really knows she's a vampire. But what sells this is the one on my list who's not just really cool, but she's not that cool really, like comparatively, but she's awesome as a character, because it's one of the few times when you get to see an honest amount of character development out of a vampire in a movie. Because even though you come to find out she's, much older than she looks, she's just stuck in this body because of when she was turned. you do get to see an element of her growing up and falling in love with this boy in her complex. It's a very weird movie. She has this like butler guy who helps her out so she doesn't actually have to roam the streets and kill people to get her blood. But one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a vampire movie, and the reason that Eli makes this list for me, is there's a scene where it's after the boy finds out that she's a vampire and she's trying to talk to him and explain kind of what her life's about and stuff like that. And he refuses to invite her in. So he's in his house. She can't get his apartment. She can't get in because he hasn't invited her. And she starts to come in anyway. And you watch as she's dying, be like, she's willing to absolutely die to explain herself to this boy because she's fallen in love with him. And you watch as like, I mean, just like blood starts like coming out of all of her pores and things like this. And it's this
Spoiler alert. No,
yeah, sorry, but I forget when the movie
isn't
came
that
out.
the image on the
It is,
on the poster?
Yeah, it may be. So it's 2004. So we're approaching the 20-year mark. And it's just it was just this amazing moment where it was a human side of a vampire kind of shining through, and you watched as she just went from this weird kid that you found out as a vampire, and you watch the development of just learning that she does this because she has to do it to live. And but then there are some other things that she does that are super rad as the movie goes on, without giving too much away. But it's just a character that's always stuck with me, and it was one I wasn't sure was going to make my list, but as I kept going, I kept seeing her face and just realizing she had to make the list. So it's Eli from Let the Right One In.
Let the right one in, baby. That's all I keep thinking about. Let the right one in, baby. All right, never heard of this movie, but it's Swedish, so I'm sure it's delicious. Like their meatballs and their furniture
And their fish.
I'm not a seafood guy, but I'll take your word for it.
It's
again.
candy.
It's the
Candy.
I don't eat sugar. I'm sorry.
What you have in the past.
What do you think you're better than me? What do you think you're better than me?
Well, not because of this, but yeah. Other reasons, but not this. This is ridiculous. It's not. All right, Mike, what do you got for your number 3?
Well, I was gonna do that. Okay. I was gonna make a joke about me leaving because you're better than me. For the record, Once Bitten is 103 on the list. I forgot to go to the next page.
Oh. So Mike just checked the top 100 of the 150 list.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like going to the second page of Google, do you really need, like, you just type another thing in?
You know, Dave and I talked years ago about like going so far back when I had I found it on page 37 and like, oh shit, like it was a deep dive.
That's the dark web.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Basically. My number 3 is Wilhelmina Harker from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, you know,
by that much.
You're
much.
right. I didn't even consider this.
What?
Wilhelmina Harker from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where she's like, the movie is not, it's great, but not like, it's hard to explain why. Like, I love that movie, but I fully understand that why people think it's a not good movie. But then I don't. Like, it's got all kinds of cool shit in it. It's got all these figures.
Oh, it's Street Fighter. I got it.
It's got Sean Connery.
It's got Sean Connery in it, and it's got you know what it is? I think that movie suffered from the fact that people don't fucking read. You know what I mean? Like, people don't know who Dorian Gray is. That people don't know who Alan Quartermain is. Like that movie. That movie is. I loved that movie, and I get that it's like a schlocky action movie, but it's more than that if you know like the backstory, especially the Wilhelmina Harker one, because it's Bram Stoker's Dracula, the story that it's the Wilhelmina Harker from that story is a full-blood vampire now, and she is using her special skills to be a part of this team. And when they finally show her like unleash a little bit, I remember badass. Like it was like it was next level. And when she sees the blood and she starts getting all horny for the blood, like there's moments of it that are like genuinely like super fucking solid and a really good like use of the vampire trope in a different way. You know what I
Is
mean?
this
Like,
is this in a family show, Dave? League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I think I have it, but
Because
I'm not
I've never seen this movie. But
Oh man,
it's
it's a lot
only
of fun.
but
You'd
it's
like
only
it.
I've only never seen the movie based upon the fact that it's been panned completely. Not and I wasn't too into it to begin with. I was like, oh, it's Sean Connery. Maybe I'll watch it. And they're like, no, don't. I'm like, okay. Like that's
that's
it.
all it took. No,
Yeah,
don't.
Listen,
All right.
it's great pulpy fun.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is, though, this movie also suffers from people who do read, because one of the biggest complaints people had about this was how much it varied from the source material.
Well, the League of Extraordinary, it was by Alan Moore, right? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
So that guy is notorious for just doing whatever the fuck he wants
he's
anyway.
just
So
a
it's like,
curmudgeonly
I mean,
dickhead.
it's just
Yes,
but
he
just
is.
the idea. Yeah, he's kind of a piece of shit. But the idea of those characters from the like, it's the Avengers.
Yeah.
But of
Yeah.
like British literature and American
Fucking
literature.
Captain Nemo.
Yeah, Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
Fucking, like it plays a part.
Tom Sawyer?
Mr.
Yeah.
Hyde, you have Mr.
Yes,
Hyde.
he was
rampaging
added
through the
added to
streets
the
of
movie because
London.
they were like, American audiences aren't going to know who all these British literary figures are. So here's
Is it-
Tom
is
Sawyer.
They were right.
It's his friend, the
Huck
word
Finn?
we can't say.
Oh, you talking about Joe? You talking about Joe? No, Joe wasn't in the movie.
First of all, it's Jim.
Oh,
Should put
Jim,
some
yeah.
respect on
Yeah.
his name. And
No, but it's fun. Have you ever seen the JCVD show on Amazon? It was JCVD, like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Van
Yes.
Johnson, Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Johnson. It was so good and it was so meta where he plays himself, but then he plays himself as Jean-Claude Van Damme, the actor, but that's just a front to him being an actual spy. And they put him on all these movie shoots, movie scene, movie on location where they need him to be a spy, which is the whole thing. Very cool. But one of them is him doing Huck Finn.
There's no way.
I swear it's so fucking brilliant. Like the
Is
whole,
it
Belgian accent.
I can't even repeat. That's what makes it fucking hilarious. And
It's the best. It's like the best scene.
and he literally, the name of the character that they say on the script that he says as he's shooting a scene for the movie, he says N-word Jim. He literally says N-word Jim. He doesn't say the actual N-word. He just says N-word Jim. And he keeps saying it over and over again. Even when they're talking about something else, he's like, I gotta go shoot a scene with N-word Jim. Like, it's fucking bonkers crazy. And that's all I think about now. And I saw that show like 2 years ago. And every time somebody mentions Huck Finn, I'm like, wait, is Jim gonna be there? Like, is Jim? Anyways, I'm sorry.
My
Go ahead.
favorite is they released a version of that book when it was going through all of the public school situations. That it's called the robot version. So they basically just took the N-word out and just made him Robot Jim. So he's literally like a robot, and then they just made him a robot throughout the whole book. It's pretty fun. It's funny when you.
I mean, it's sad but funny, right? We
It's
get
sad
it.
but funny in context. It's good. But yeah, that's gonna pick Wilhelmina Harker from
Dave,
League of
what do you got, man?
Good pick, man. Okay, so this one I know no one is going to have, and I doubt anyone has seen. And it is Carmilla Karnstein from
by a split second.
No.
I saw Mike's face and I'm like, I got it. Hold on, I got it. Sorry,
from the amazing Hammer Studios 1970 film The Vampire Lovers.
So, what was the name of the character?
Carmilla Karnstein.
Bing.
This movie is based on the novella Carmilla by Le Fanu, who this novel actually it predates Dracula by like 25 years. And so a lot of the like sexual stuff that's in Dracula, a lot of people think, that comes from this story, and it's basically a lesbian vampire story.
Oh no, I've seen that one.
You've seen this?
Black and Orange, right, on the website.
I've seen like three of those.
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah. There's like 16.
A lot of sequels. Yeah.
I know one. Yeah.
Oh boy!
I wouldn't
pretty
exactly
much,
call it
pretty
a
much.
classic, but
Oh, it's Vampire
I mean, it
Lovers?
gets the job done.
Is the name Vampire Lovers?
It's called The Vampire Lovers.
I've only seen 12 minutes at a time. I haven't seen the whole movie yet. I just see 12 minutes at a time.
You know what? You guys ain't wrong, because that's
Oh,
pretty
is it
much
really
what
horny?
this movie. That's pretty much what this movie is. If you've never seen a Hammer horror movie, that is
They get real
kind
horny.
of what they got to, especially by the 70s, where they realized that what the audience was coming to their movies for was the blood and the boobs, and so they basically just ratcheted this one up to 11, and they put this gorgeous British actress, Ingrid Pitt, as Carmilla, and they had her pretty much preying on this girl who had, was grieving the loss of her mother, and so she kind of gets her into this, symbiotic sexual and feeding situation, and it's really weird, and
This is
it's
the most plot I've ever heard for these kind of movies. I got to be honest with you. Usually with these movies, when I watch them, this is a lot of plot, man.
and yet it's still pretty gonzo,
Yeah.
and it works, and I love it, and I'm here for the tits and ass, and I'm here for the blood, and Carmilla does it better than most.
All
Fair
right.
enough.
All right. My number 4 is Maximilian, Vampire in Brooklyn. Is Eddie Murphy's character in
Yes.
Mike, put that fucking face away. I don't give a fuck.
Yes.
about that
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Vampire in
Yes.
Brooklyn.
Like, I knew it was gonna show up at some point.
Okay, then why put that face? What the fuck? Well, you act all surprised, like, well, really? Yeah, fucking really. Vampire in Brooklyn is legit a good movie. Everybody I talked to likes that movie, except for Mike, apparently.
Likes two very different things.
Well, I didn't hear what you were saying because that sounded like somebody's air conditioning was going off.
Oh.
But I will say, I'm assuming what you said, likes and in a good movie are two separate things. I'm assuming that's what you said. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie, and I like Eddie Murphy's the fact that he does 3 separate roles in that movie. Again, doing the multiple casting thing is his thing, but he does it effortlessly, and I very much enjoyed Vampire in Brooklyn. And I enjoyed his suave ass, Eddie Murphy's suave ass vampire, because the vampires have been known to be suave and they've been known to be romantics, whatever. But I bought it coming from Eddie Murphy, so it was great. I thought it was great. Maximilian is his name.
The Vampire. This is on Rotten Tomatoes. The critic score is a 12%, and the audience score is a 31.
Yeah.
So
I'm not again. I'm not judging.
Idle
your
Hands
pick.
has got a 17. Dave and I both gave it 5 on
Perfect
Shipper.
score. Perfect score.
That movie is great though.
But like, it's
Hey, but
yeah.
you know what? Here's what I care more about. Its Google user score is 83%.
There we
Oh
go.
wow!
And on
The
Voodoo,
everyman, the
on
Google
Voodoo,
man.
it's 4.2 out of 5, and them's the scores you can take to the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Okay, sure.
You see, every man. I don't. I don't. But here's the thing: who cares what the fucking
I
critics say?
get it. I get
I'm
it.
not going to watch a fucking vampire movie going like, I wonder what the who gives a fuck? Like, I don't need
Well,
it's
you
weird.
did apparently when you didn't watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
No, but that wasn't critics. I never said that wasn't because of the critics. That was because of people that I knew watched it. They said it wasn't good. I'm like, oh, okay, like all right.
Those people are fucking stupid.
But I will say, going back to that conversation, to clarify that, I had little to no interest in that movie. The only interest I had in that movie was Sean Connery. And when everybody that I know says that it wasn't good, the only interest I have Sean Connery is not enough to fucking be like, no, I don't give a fuck what you say.
I get that.
I'm gonna give Vampire in Brooklyn another shot as an adult. I honestly haven't seen it since like I was a
And
teenager.
I am looking forward to watching League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I will make sure to go to the library, read all the books first, and then
when we finish up, I'm gonna go watch lesbian vampire porn.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it sounds like we've all gotten some great recommendations this round.
That is, I believe, in the family share.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm looking at it on IMDb. Here's the little synopsis that it gives. A ship docks in Brooklyn with all its crew dead, but someone gets off, and the killing continues on land. A Caribbean vampire is searching for a specific woman, half human, half vampire. Rita is a detective investigating the many killings. That's That's solid. I mean, like that's
It's a good movie. Like I enjoyed
fun.
watching the movie. I've never I honestly haven't met a person who's watched the movie who's gone, get the fuck out. That movie sucks. Like I've never met a person who's done that. But I'm like, okay.
I'll
I'm
take back
not
my
saying that
knee-jerk reaction, and I'm gonna give it a shot.
I'm okay with you not giving it a shot, but it's okay. I would like to give it a shot, but it's like it's fine. But it's like one of those. But it's also my number 3. So let's be realistic. This is still the bottom part of the mountain. This is this is Kennedy. This is a Teddy, I should say.
Kennedy.
All right. So that's remember when we had somebody on here who knew all the
it was
faces in the
Alex
order?
on the power ups, and he was
yeah,
like,
it was
he was like,
fine,
Big
yeah.
Pipe is Roosevelt.
Yeah, and I was like, how do you even know who
You
that is?
don't know
sir?
the faces on the mountain?
Not only do I not know the faces on the mountain, I don't know the order.
So
Which
Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, Lincoln.
right? Okay.
Crazy Horse.
Yeah.
That's a little bit further away.
On the other side of the mountain.
All right. So the number 3s were Eli from Let the Right One In, baby. Wilhelmina Harker from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Carmilla Karstein from some porn called Vampire Lovers. And Maximilian from a shit movie called Vampire in Brooklyn. Let's go to our number 2s.
Round 3.
Oh wait, that was 3, right?
Yes, that
Yeah.
was 3. We're going to 2s.
Yeah. Why did it not? Hey, this was not my fault, guys. I transferred this shit, man. I swear to God, I did, man. All right. Sorry, guys. I know the audience is like, we just did.
Da, 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 na, 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 na,
Dose, the sequel to Uno.
All right, Deuce. The Bona, hit me with your deuce, man.
My number 2 is one of my introductions into vampire movies, and somebody who I think embodied the idea of being a cool vampire more so than a lot of people could ever dream of. It is David Powers from The Lost Boys, played by the effervescent Kiefer Sutherland.
I was so torn between Lestat and David, and I went Lestat.
He's just like when you watch Lost Boys, like for all of the insanity and shirtless sax players that movie brings to the table, it's all about Kiefer Sutherland. Like that is the beginning and the end of that movie, as far as I'm concerned. Like this is prime Kiefer Sutherland. He's just like, when you first meet him, he's just like the cool, like you first meet him, he's like, oh, okay. So, it's like the guy from Breakfast Club, right? Like he's just the cool guy who wears rags and doesn't give a fuck. And then you find out he's a vampire, and it's like, oh shit, that's awesome. And then he like uses his powers to pull pranks, like turning the rice into maggots and stuff like that. And just the dropping off the bridge to go flying, and just crazy stuff like that. Like this is a guy who takes the fact that he's a vampire and just uses it to have a good time. Like
he's Peter Pan. He's vampire Peter Pan.
Very much so. Like he's the vampire embodiment of here for a good time, not a long time, right? Like this is a guy who's like, I can do all of this, and I'm gonna do it to the fullest of my ability for as long as I can. And he just absorbs every moment of life he can, and kills every single person that he wants to. And he just does whatever, runs with a clique of dumbasses, like, the guy from Bill and Ted. What's Alex Winter? Is that his name? He's got.
I call him Nakiano.
Yeah, exactly. He's got goons. He's out there getting the ladies. He's throwing parties. He's got like a cool cave that he hangs out in, like with all his rad shit that he's just like stolen from wherever. Like, I mean, it was the cool, like it was just this amazing idea of what you could do if you were a vampire, and like you
in the
didn't have
80s.
to. Yeah, in the 80s,
Yeah.
right? And you didn't just have to skulk around in the shadows and wear a big cape and stuff like that. It's like, what if just a normal, like, trash 80s guy became a vampire? And that's what we got out of David Powers. It's fun to watch. It's highly rewatchable. It's great in a group. It's great by yourself. Man, it's just a fun
It's a
movie.
great
and it's
annual
because,
watch.
yeah,
But we're
and
not
it's just
talking about the
because of
movies.
David
We're
Powers.
talking
I
about
know,
the vampire.
but
And
it's
here's what gets me.
because of David.
Here's why David didn't make my list. He's not even the coolest or most powerful vampire in his own movie. Because Max was the motherfucking man.
Yeah, but
So
Okay,
I can't
Max is more
put
powerful,
David
but
on the
Dave was
list.
cooler.
No, not at the end. Not as a vampire. He may be cooler as the fucking guy out on the street, but when they become vampires, I was shit terrified of Max. All right, like that.
Okay,
That was just my opinion on that. I was
Fair
like, I was
point.
thinking about putting. I was like, oh, Lost Boys, and then I was like, well, if I'm not putting Max, I'm not putting nobody in that fucking. I mean, like, I can't. Your number one better be Max at this point. Like that's how I'm feeling. I'm like, okay, but yeah, I agree with you in the movie. I love the movie. I adore the movie. I think it's great. I watch it semi often, at least once every couple of years, maybe. But Max is the shit with me.
Fair enough.
I'm in with Max. Them and the Coreys, come on, but they're
Yeah,
not
the
vampires. I get what you're saying. All right, so we have Dave. Was it David? David, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, David Powers from the Lost Boys. Mike, what do you got for your number 2?
My number 2 is Dracula from Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh my god! I was
Leslie
wondering if anybody
Nielsen.
was gonna play this
You know,
fucking card.
I fucking love this
Nielsen.
pick.
I do too. I just couldn't figure out if anybody was going to
Yep.
to pull the trigger on this one.
I legit haven't seen this movie. I talked to Jeff about my list, and he goes, "You're not gonna put Dracula Dead and Loving?" I'm like, I haven't seen the movie. Like, I legit haven't seen the movie.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm fair.
There's so
I
much
love fried chicken.
Yeah.
I'm sold with that one line. I'm fucking sold with that one line. I'm in.
Bro, okay, so we'll talk about the movie itself. Is Mel Brooks just being fucking hilarious, and there and a big spoof on the Bram Stoker's Dracula that had come out, and like the vampire idea and all that shit. And then the guy, what's his name, Steven Weber from Wings is in it, and he is hilarious in that movie. That guy's so funny.
Yes.
And he's super funny in that movie. And there's one scene. Okay, this is about Leslie Nielsen. This is about Dracula. He's my pick. He is perfect in that movie as himself because you're so used to seeing him play the straight. He does like pratfalls and all kinds of dumb shit in this one, but he's still like trying to be the prim and proper Dracula. Like when he takes his hair off and he hangs it on the hat rack, and like when he tries to turn it, like there's a moment where he turns into a bat, and then he gets into the sun. You could still see his head on a bat body. And I'm like, yeah, that guy is committed to doing whatever the fuck he wants. Like, that guy is the best. And it's just genuinely like a fun watch. And he's great in it, especially when he's trying to get her to come out the window, where he's like, come to the left. No, your left. And she's like bumping into the, he's like, okay. There's just like, it's just really just a great fucking fun spoof. It's like a great Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah,
but it's also Leslie Nielsen shining. It's just a great pick. I mean, it's just like one of my favorite picks.
It's just a great pick.
It's not a great pick. It's a great movie that's why it's my number 2 pick.
Mike is the kind of guy that has sex and goes, that was great. I was good.
I was good. I was good tonight.
I did a good job. I did a good job.
Right, baby?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Was it good for you? As good for you as it was for me? I'm not like, that was as good for you as it was for me. Stupid.
He says it in third person.
Now I'm gonna smoke both these cigarettes.
He says it in third person. He was like, Mike was amazing. Mike was amazing.
Yeah, Mike crushed it.
Oh, Mike really rocked your world tonight. High-fived himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my pick. Dracula Dead and Loving It.
This is my favorite pick so far, and I've already had 2.
I have
I wasn't lying when I said it was a great pick.
Did you know that Leslie Nielsen, when he started his career, he was a leading man in drama, in dramatic film, in dramatic roles. I love that. I love the fact that he was like, hey, and then towards the end of his life, he was like, I'm just gonna be stupid from now on. Fuck this.
So was Ernest. Ernest was a Shakespearean trained. Jim Varney was a Shakespearean trained actor, and then he starts doing, know what I mean? Hey Vern, he started.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah,
bro, go watch him.
Are you being serious right now?
I'm 100% serious. I'm 100% serious. But on stage, like his break was in TV commercials and stuff. But he was trained to do Shakespeare. Go look it up. It's awesome.
That's
Okay.
Yeah. Know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
My bank account is good. You know what I mean? Uh, Dave, what do you got for your number 2, man?
My number 2 is from what I think might be the best movie on my list, and it's Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night.
Which one? Not that I'm gonna table it either way. I'm just wondering which Jerry Dandridge you like best.
I'm thinking Chris Sarandon from 1985.
Okay.
Although
Is there a newer version of Fright Night? Then he's not going for that one.
Well,
and it's Colin Farrell.
The newer version of it is fantastic. But I don't think Colin
but you're not going
Farrell's-
to pick that one.
No,
But you would have picked that one. All right.
no. But it is really good. I think that is one of those few remakes that like gets really close to
In all fairness, Dave has told me before when I've talked about never seeing a Fright Night, he goes, "You're gonna like both of them, but the newer one is also good." Like he did acknowledge that to me. I'm just busting balls about he likes older shit. Was it 84?
100%.
Was it
85? I think 84, 85, something like that. Jerry Dandridge is kind of like a modern Dracula. And so like he dresses in jeans and t-shirts and members only jackets, and he's that like cool neighbor next door, the kind of guy where like if you gave him a couple of bucks, he might go buy beer for you and your friends. And when you find out that he's a fucking vampire, right, he kind of just wants to leave the status quo. Like you almost feel a little bad for him, because like he just wants to live like a really quiet suburban life, maybe after a couple hundred years of hanging out with Lestat and David and stuff like that, right? And now that he's in the suburbs, he's been found out by this little punk ass kid, and you see how fucking powerful he is. And I think a lot of what makes Jerry so awesome is how we see a lot of these like contemporary for that time effects put on like these old school like tropey vampire things, because he really kind of is like a modern Dracula. And like to see him get into bat form and how fucking scary he is as a bat, like it isn't like just some fucking thing flapping there, with
is he like a monster bat?
Yeah, he's like a big monster fucking bat, and his
you sound like awesome. You sound like Miss Dr. Evil. He's like, are they ill-tempered bats?
Yeah.
Is it a giant bat? Is it a monster bat? Does he have lasers on his head?
Are they ill-tempered?
So yeah, I mean he's just as charming as you think Chris Sarandon would be. And yet when he like gets that snarl on his face, and like the transformation scene from I mean this is the mid 80s, so this is like the height of like practical special effects. That transformation scene into the bat is just so fantastic. That's one of those things that I think always sticks in your mind, and just how aggressive he can get, like from one instant to the next, where he goes from like smooth talker, Mr. Charismatic, and then out of the corner of his eye, he's looking at you and I'm like, fuck, I'm this guy's lunch, aren't I? So Jerry Dandridge.
Every time I hear aggressive, I just think about the cheerleading chant, aggressive, like be aggressive, be aggressive. Like I just think about the vampire, like oh, he's all cool and he's like, be aggressive, be. All right. So Jerry Dandridge. My number 2 is the second pick of actually no, I'll go number 2 is Lestat.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we could talk about it now. Is Lestat from Interview with a Vampire, when it was done correctly. I have so for a long time I dated this girl who was a huge fan of all the Anne Rice books, and she read them prior to the movies coming out. So my only knowledge of Queen of the Damned not being good is her. But her passion is one of those, we know people like that, don't we, Dave, where they're so passionate that it makes you believe shit. You go, yeah, okay, that and then that's what makes me know that Queen of the Damned was not a good movie. I thought it was a good movie until I was told otherwise. I was like, no, bitch, you are
No,
wrong.
you're wrong.
You're wrong. And I was like, what? And they're like, no, they combined 2 fucking movies in the movie Queen of the Dam, and they fucked up all of it. And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Well,
Um,
I read the book. I read Lestat and I read Interview with the Vampire. I read a couple different ones, and it takes place in the 80s. So when they modernized it, I think if you did not like basically Korn, like if you weren't a Korn fan, Queen of the Dam sucked to you because it didn't make sense. You're like, why the fuck is there 1,000 people in the desert for this guy? Like in the original version, he's like an 80s like
Yeah.
pop star,
You're gonna read a rock
which
guy.
yeah, which almost like I imagined it is like a flock of seagulls or like that kind of like club, like more like dancey nightclubby star.
like David from Lost Boys. That's what-
Kind of like he was
Yeah.
the sexy sax man, and you know when he started, I can't do it because I'm sitting down, but a lot of pelvic thrusting.
No. Just keep doing
Just-
this.
just
That was
back and
good.
forth.
That was good. Yeah.
And that will be
I'm
the
playing a
commercial.
saxophone.
Oh, boy.
Mike's like, I'm doing a saxophone.
The point I was making was that the books were really good, and then you did feel kind of like if it wasn't like your wheelhouse to be in this like new metally kind of vibe, it did take a lot away from it. But he was awesome. Like Tom Cruise was dope in Interview with a Vampire.
Tom Cruise is dope. That movie is so good, and I forget sometimes how good that movie is because it came out when I was young, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I have the same effect. I have the same reaction. Not now, but maybe 4 years ago, I would have the same reaction when watching Forrest Gump, because Forrest Gump became such a meme, and it became like a joke, like "Run, Forrest, run!" all that hacky shit. That you forget that when you watch the movie Forrest Gump, you're like, oh, this is a fucking masterpiece. Like you forget how great the movie is because it became such a popularized in different mediums. And same thing happens with Interview with a Vampire. I just watched that movie, and I was so young when the movie came out that I didn't really acknowledge, like I didn't understand how great that movie was until a decade and a half later when I would watch it, be like, oh, this is actually really fucking good. Like Brad Pitt's performance in it is really fucking good.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, Antonio Banderas, everybody gives a really outstanding.
Even Kirsten
Dunst.
Dunst.
I was just gonna say, if I were to pick
awesome.
if I were to pick a vampire from this movie, it wouldn't be Lestat. It would be Claudia when
She almost.
I think we lost Neri.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
A robot.
Robot Jim, is that you?
Meat morp.
So while Neri's frozen, I'll talk about it since I had it. The only reason why I didn't put it higher is because Lestat is not in enough of the movie, I think. And like when I first saw the movie, I rented it at Blockbuster on DVD. This was probably around like the year 2001, 2002, something like that. And the DVD was scratched, and it scratched and was unwatchable, like right after Brad Pitt splits from Tom Cruise. And so for years I didn't get around to watching this thing again. And so when I finally watched it again and I saw that was pretty much the extent of Lestat's story in there, right? Like he comes back at the end, but that's kind of it. So it's like you're looking at half the movie there, except that his presence is never really gone. Like, you know,
I know what you're saying.
So like he's so and it sticks with
Mike's
you.
like, I know what you're saying because I speak English too. Like I we all know what he's saying. We all speak it.
So I mean, it's how can, and it's you know how, I mean, I don't know if you know how. I'm asking, do you know how like sometimes something sets such a new standard that it becomes almost tropey when you look back on it? It's very easy to forget. Like you were saying, Neri, about like Forrest Gump, it's easy to forget how good something was. It's easy to forget how like a game-changing something was. And I think that Tom Cruise's performance as Lestat, and a lot of that does come from Anne Rice, but a lot of that is his performance. Like he set a new standard for what vampires were. Vampires up until that point were Bela Lugosi.
And he was like fun. Like he was the one
Yeah.
that was like, the Creole blood, and he was playing the piano, and he got the dead mom. Remember when he dances with a dead mom?
Yeah.
So fucking it was like, because it, you think about the human, like in the book it goes on to describe how they find this one coven of vampires that was like, they believed themselves to be sin incarnate, so they lived like these dirty lives, and they were like evil, and they bought into like how dirty they had to be. And then he was like, what the fuck is wrong? We are unburdened by all of the, like, what are you doing? And it's like, why, like, go, like, take a bath, it was like that. Like because he's like, you can do whatever you want, you're a fucking god. Like that was a very kind of interesting approach to it too.
There's a Key and Peele skit where they do vampires. They're like, you want to join a vampire? And he's like, why are you guys all dressed in black leather? And it was like, we are the eternal, and they're like all sexualized, and like, why the fuck? Why is it all super sexy? Like, come, my man, why are you having sex on the couch? Take it easy. Like, you licking your lips at me? What the fuck? Take it easy. You're a vampire, And then he like, everybody started questioning the leader, like, yeah, why are we doing this? Why are we
doing this?
Yeah, and then at the end of the skit, it's like the new guys in control, and it's like just regular guys hanging out. They all happen to be vampires. Like, it's not really a big That's exactly what that reminds me of. He's like, why are you guys all fucking bummy? Like, why? It's like, get yourself a puffy shirt and let's get the fuck out of here. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. And the and also like a little bit of the Antonio Banderas part was to show how they were like trying to live amongst the people, but like the humans pretending to be vampires pretending to be humans, pretending to be vampires in that play. Like,
yes,
remember? Like there was just a lot of that,
circus,
like like playing around with like interacting with the food, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
good
pick
food.
I love that movie.
Yeah, so I was gonna say about not picking Kristen Dunst there is I had this rule of like one pick per movie, but she was close, man. I will say that she was close. All right, so the number twos were David Powers from The Lost Boys, Dracula from Dead and Loving It, Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night 1985 or 84, we're not sure, and Lestat from Interview with a Vampire. All right, what honorable mentions? Honorable mentions. We like you a lot, but you just missed the list by
Missed it by that much.
By that much. All right. The Bono, what do you got for your honorable mentions?
I've got Vlad from What We Do in the Shadows, the movie.
Right.
Jermaine Clement, just hilarious. Adam from Only Lovers Left Alive, played by Tim Hiddleston. He's in that movie with Tilda Swinton. They're great. They play Adam and Eve. Fantastic movie. And Sang Hyun, I'm probably massacring this because it's Korean. Sang Hyun, he's the priest from the movie Thirst, which is a Chan Woo Park film. And it's this Catholic priest who his vaccination turns him into a vampire. But he plays the role very well, but it's kind of hit and miss. So that's why he went honorable mention.
Okay. Mike?
This is where I picked the movies that I thought were good, but didn't have like a big enough character to make the mountain. 30 Days of Night with Josh Hartnett was a great, because like in Alaska when the sun goes down for like months at a time, like of course that would be perfect for vampires. I love that movie. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. There's one called Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke where the vampires are already in charge but they're running out of food. That was a really cool take on it all. And a Russian.
So there were basically the hyenas and Lion King at the end of the movie where they were just
Well, they start getting the thing is that if they have the blood like regularly, all of the monstrous forms that they used to take are they've evolved out of that. But if they don't have the blood, they turn into that. But the food supply, the humans are running out, and then they discover a way to like kind of cure yourself. It's a great movie. It's really good. There's a Russian one called Night Watch, and then the sequel Day Watch. Oh, that's really good. And I was gonna say Claudia and Louis from Interview with the Vampire, because they're both. That's like they both crush it, and I kind of like Louis more than Lestat in that movie because he's doing the interview with, like he's like trying to be a good guy, like in that movie, and it's like all about him more than Lestat. With him,
the interview with
yeah.
Say the vampire.
Interview. Did I not say vampire?
No,
I rushed through it. Interview with the Vampire. But yeah, like it's him and it's Christian Slater, and then at the end he's like, don't you fucking know that it's like because he wanted to be turned, and then he's like, nah, you I just spent the whole fucking time talking to you about how terrible this is, and then he's that I like that character better. Those are my honorable mentions.
Okay, Dave.
So my honorable mentions were vampires that had their pureness of vampirism in question, but I thought were cool characters. So Blade is at the top of that list for me because as being half human, he didn't meet my my list. Martin Matthias from a movie called Martin, directed by George Romero, which Romero always said was his favorite movie, is fucking amazing. And so there's always this question about whether or not he actually is a vampire or if he's just like this like blood obsessed serial killer with like Renfield syndrome. And it's a really, really violent, bloody movie, and it's really great. Peter Lowe from Vampire's Kiss. I mean,
there we go.
Nick
That's
Cage being as absolutely bonkers as you might want, and because whatever they were in those movies, they weren't vampires. But fuck if she isn't gorgeous, and she's got really cool superpowers. Alice Cullen from Twilight. Not a vampire, definitely not a vampire, but I can watch her in a movie all day long.
Horny pick.
Horny pick, but also how cool is it that she can?
We know what your number one is, Mister. Let me point out a horny pick.
Oh, I'm not hiding behind it. I'm not hiding it in an honorable mention. It's my number fucking one. Because that's what this is about.
My number 3 was also a horny pick. So.
All right.
We're talking about fucking vampires. This is the horniest monster of all time.
Yeah.
All time.
Wow.
Frankenstein, I think, was.
Have you ever seen
horny.
Middle School Boys?
Might have been horny.
Horniest monster of all time. Look at Middle School Boys. Fucking A. Am I right, fellas?
Touche.
My honorable mentions include Celine, which is Kate Beckinsale and on the World Series.
Oh,
they were fantastic. Then Rufus Sewell from Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, which is very.
I love that movie. I love
that movie's all right, but fucking Vampire in Brooklyn, that's ridiculous. Get the fuck out of here with that. All right, yeah, sure. I also love Vampire. I also love Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. We showed it today for the first time, and he shook his head violently many times, but he, I think, enjoyed it. No, maybe? I don't know.
I did. No, it was definitely enjoyable. Not a good movie, but definitely enjoyable.
I've read it, never seen it.
That's so funny. And my number one honorable mention is Charlotte from Embrace with a Vampire. Embrace of the Vampire, which is Alyssa Milano, and her fucking most Alyssa Milano pick. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's your horny pick, huh?
No, that's the pick that I chose for merit. The things that happen in that bedroom. Anyway, so that's the honorable mentions. Let's get to our number one.
Round 1. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Number 1. Do it. Come on.
All right, number 1, the Bona. Hit me with your number 1.
So I know there's a lot of flack to be had from this pick because this movie's generally viewed as just overly campy and kind of ridiculous. But this is, and I'm sorry, Dave, we obviously know what your number 1 is, but this is my favorite portrayal of this character on film, and it's Dracula from Bram Stoker's with Gary Oldman.
Hey, that's a great pick, man.
I like when you go back. This is a movie that I try to go back and watch because I feel like it's one that gets a lot of criticism sometimes, but I feel like that criticism often just comes up from being stood up against The Godfather and movies of that like. But this movie, while yes, campy and tells a very twisted version of what Bram Stoker's Dracula is, Gary Oldman just took this thing and ran. He's so good in just in all of the different ways that he plays Dracula. And you get the old guy Dracula, and you get the ladies' man with the top hat Dracula, and you get a little bit of everything. You get this full scope of what this, by the time this had come out, Dracula had been a mythical figure since forever. And so it was interesting. It's interesting to watch Gary Oldman take a character and still make it his own. And just the way that he plays Dracula, it becomes so psychological while still remaining horny, while still remaining violent. I mean, he does it all. And so this is a movie I always seem to find people who are like, it's okay, but it's super cheesy. And yeah, fine. Like, I'll give you that. Like,
I've never seen the movie. But I will say to your credit, this is the role that I thought when they were talking about Lestat, like, oh, this is what changed, what vampires became. This is what I thought of, because even though I've never seen the movie, the whole scene with him and the red and the fucking blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
it's become trope. It's become like the Simpsons did it with Mr. Burns a million times and all that stuff there. And again, the very few scenes that I've seen, and it hasn't even been from the movie itself. It's been from like clips. I think Gary Oldman, he could do no wrong.
Exactly. And I mean, that's what it ends up coming down to for me is just the breadth of ability that Gary Oldman brought to this role and was able to encompass so many things. And normally you get like one side of a vampire or something like that, but he brought it all into one place, into a name that everybody knew, and reestablished. I mean, not that Dracula ever went anywhere, but this movie reestablished Dracula as a household thing because it was fresh and it was new again, which is super impressive. And so yeah, it's Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
That's an awesome pick, man.
I like the pick. Again, I haven't seen the movie, but I like the pick only because it's really fucking iconic. Like, it's super iconic. That's what I think of when I think Dracula. I think that and Leslie Nielsen in Dracula Dead and Loving It. And I haven't seen any one of those movies, but that's it's just the image that pops up because it's so prominent. It's so like everywhere. It was everywhere. Like the commercials were everywhere. When you get the Simpsons making, doing spoofs off of you, it's very popular. Like the Simpsons.
That's when you've made it.
Yeah, that's when you've made it. You know what I mean?
Or when South Park does it now.
Right. I mean,
I would say still like if.
Oh, I know the Simpsons is still doing it. I'm just saying, getting panned on South Park is equivalent now.
Yeah. All right. So that's number one. I think it's a great pick. Mike, what do you got for number one?
My number one is Santanico Pandemonium from Dusk Till Dawn.
Salma Hayek from
Dusk Till Dawn. So this is again probably one of the more iconic like moments especially in that time in the 90s when like indie film and Quentin Tarantino and there was like all of these like new edgy things like Harvey Keitel, like when Reservoir Dogs came out and then Harvey Keitel had this boom of movies, and then this was like George Clooney being a badass, and then all of a sudden, right, like because he was just coming out of ER, and it was like all of a sudden there's 15-year-old Mike in the movie theater transfixed onto a woman that then becomes a hideous monster, but the body stayed the same.
Yeah,
and that was confusing. That was problematic for young Mike, where I was like, ooh, is this a deal breaker? Nah, probably not. This is amazing. Also, like, to be fair, Salma Hayek is like one of the most this was also from Desperado. That was like prime Salma Hayek era. But also in the movie, that scene triggers The Turn.
Yeah.
Where suddenly this is a
Yes,
different
different movie.
movie.
Yeah.
This is a totally different movie, and she's in charge of all of what's happening. And it becomes
Did you know this was gonna happen when you first watched the movie? Did you know that?
No,
I had
that was
no
when you could
idea.
go into movies without, like, that's something I do miss now. Like, I'm in like a couple text groups and stuff like that of like nerd shit, and whenever somebody posts something that's just a little too much in the trailer or just a little spoilery, I get so frustrated because I don't want to know anymore. And this movie was one of those where all of a sudden, bro, this band starts playing with a human body with a leg shoved up its ass, like literally, like with the playing the guts and shit like that. It is the movie completely changes, and then there's this whole tone of like, what the fuck? And it was her that one performance is iconic and amazing, and then she becomes this monster and kind of runs the show. And then when they finally get her, it's like like a triumph, but it becomes a real survival like situation that changed the entire tone of the movie. Up until that point, it had been a creepy like
it was like Natural Born Killers.
Yes, like Natural Born Killers.
I feel like the Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez tried to tackle the double feature thing when they did Grindhouse, but in a very succinct manner. This is a better version of the Grindhouse double feature than when they actually created a Grindhouse double feature, because we have two very distinct movies here. But when like I said, this is my number 4, and man, yeah, you're absolutely, it's like that's like a keystone moment in like becoming a man for me, right? Is like seeing Salma Hayek in this role. Like, I don't even have a thing for feet, like, at all, but it's still
Quentin Tarantino does.
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, but it's still like sexy to me. Like, I'm like, I don't really have a thing for putting a chick's foot in my mouth, but Salma Hayek can put whatever the hell she wants in my mouth.
Well, remember, she has the snake, and then like people rip that off a lot later on.
Yeah, like Britney Spears
did it.
Yeah, I mean,
in Wayne's World they did it. In Wayne's World, Tia Carrere had the snake. Remember, and like they suddenly doing shit with a snake on it. It was like the move.
Yeah, and it was just the whole thing. The whole thing was so cool, and she's not honestly in the movie for that much time, and even less than half of her time is when she's gorgeous Salma Hayek.
Right.
But it's still that role. Like, if you go look up From Dusk Till Dawn, like, and just Google image search, what you're gonna get are pictures of Salma Hayek as this character. It was sexy. It brought, like I said, so often the sexy vampire is it's for the ladies, and he's a ladies' man, and they were like, hey, this is a sexy vampire for a few seconds, right? But then we're gonna change it on you. But it was the role was a lot of fun, and this is one where the movie being great did help it make my list. Also, just the unabashed sexiness of Salma Hayek.
I like that Mike is like, oh, she's hot, but she turns into a hideous monster, but still with a hot body.
Yeah.
So will I like?
Not a deal breaker.
Adult Mike now will be like, no, I'm still down. Wait, hold on. Who did you vote for? Like, that's the game change. Yeah, you could change it to a hideous monster. But did you vote for a hideous monster?
No, the honorable mention also goes to Cheech Marin in that movie for being the guy that announces all the different kinds of pussy.
The different kinds of pussy.
Yeah, we got
brand new flavor, apple pie pussy.
Like,
I want to get a tattoo. I want to get a tattoo with that whole entire with like a menu option of all the pussies, and then be like, oh,
I love
just go around
when they show that movie on TBS. They change it to Kitty, and that makes me laugh even harder.
So hard. Oh, and the place is called the Titty Twister. Oh man, yeah.
Yes,
this movie's so great. And when they do the reveal at the end, that they show that big giant step well that goes down into like the ruins,
pit of hell.
Yeah, like it goes down to like hell essentially. And yeah, just like that whole movie is dope. And but it is like, it goes from being like the sexy monster thing to just being the fucking monster thing, like I
agree.
Also, Tom Savini is a guy named Sex Machine, so bring that on.
With his dick gun.
Yeah, fantastic fucking movie.
Hey,
great vampire.
Not for nothing. That shit would hurt. That fucking kickback.
Yes, absolutely, it would
fucking hurt. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's that between that and life or death, I get it. But that's still not. Both of you lost. Just one of you lost a little bit more. That transaction. Dave, what's your number one, man?
So my number one is also Dracula, but different actor. And I mentioned that my number one was solidified from the very beginning, and for me, there was no question. It had to be Christopher Lee.
The only question I had was, were you going to go Bela Lugosi or Christopher Lee?
So I love Bela Lugosi. I absolutely love Bela Lugosi, and Lugosi only played Dracula twice. He did it in the original Dracula and in Abbott and Costello Meet Dracula, and which is a fantastic fucking movie, by the way. But as much as I love Lugosi's performance of Dracula, Christopher Lee, like, to me, embodies Dracula. When I think Christopher Lee, I don't even think like Scaramanga from Bond. I don't think fucking Count Dooku. I think Dracula. And any one of the 7 movies that he did for Hammer are spectacular just for him. The ones where he has Peter Cushing to play off of, where Cushing plays Van Helsing, I think are even better.
Yes.
But I think his best performance as Dracula is in the third one, which is called Dracula Prince of Darkness, because he's killed off in one of my favorite movie finales ever, in the first Dracula. He's not present in the second one, where it's just Van Helsing stopping another guy that's trying to take the mantle of Dracula. And then he comes back in the third one. And it's such a, like...
Was this Dracula 3 Domination?
Yes. So
Revenge of the Dracula?
The cool thing is that they were like the Friday the 13th movies and like Saw and stuff like that. These movies were always finding like really interesting ways of killing Count Dracula and also bringing him back. So they would pick up literally like moments after the last one ended, and you would see these like really, huh?
Like Karate Kid.
Sure, yeah, like Karate Kid, like.
But when you said like Karate Kid, I was like, how many times did Daniel die in the
Karate Kid? Just the teachings of Mr. Miyagi every time.
Right. Yeah, or like Rocky or something like that. Like, yeah, it picks up right where the one before it leaves off, and his Dracula was very different from what had been done before. He was a much more physically imposing Dracula. He was, I think, also a much better seducer. Like, he would sit there and he would charm the fucking pants off of you, and he was not afraid of using his powers to like outright show the audience that he was raping these women. It was no longer just suggested. Like, he was really fucking evil. And the way that, I mean, because these movies were now in color as opposed to the black and white Universal monster ones, we saw like the blood rage come into his eyes. Like, they would put these like penciled in red contact lenses, and it would look really fucking like evil. Like, he was so goddamn good, and he was a fucking giant. He was like as tall as Mike, and I mean, you're fucking giant to me. I don't know, man.
Mike looks up to you. Literally, he looks up to you. Dave looks up to you. I'm sorry.
And he was so fucking tall. He was so fucking imposing, and like he was, I think, the perfect actor ever to play Dracula. And we see different aspects of him come out in different movies. We even get to see, as far back as the 70s, we get to see him climbing the walls of Castle Dracula, which is something that we hadn't seen in any of the movies, but is one of the scariest scenes in the book. And we get to see.
Why is he climbing the walls? Does he not have the key to the door? What's going on? It's a whole castle. What the fuck is going on here? Why does he climbing the walls?
When you drop it down the grate, it just keeps going ding, ding, ding. You hear it bouncing off of all the fucking lights.
Now I got to climb this wall again.
Damn it, Redfield! Quit eating fucking flies and go get my bathroom key.
All right, Dracula.
Dracula Dead Loving It's still better. Sorry.
I'm gonna go with my number one is gonna be Luke Evans from Dracula Untold. No, I'm kidding.
I
That
never
movie
saw
was that
Is
movie
it
was
trash?
fucking dope. That movie was
really?
fucking dope.
Yeah,
And
it is rad as shit. I just can't see it being a number one.
no, no. My number one is Dracula from Monster Squad. So no, I'm kidding too.
Jesus. I thought actually gonna say Dracula Stuart Townsend from Dracula 2000.
No, it's Dracula, but the prison break guy.
That guy's the worst. I legitimately like Monster Squad. Have you seen Monster Squad as an adult? It's
Dude,
fucking,
yes,
I
it holds
have
up.
not.
It's still rad.
it still holds up. I
Mary,
saw my
we
kids.
actually we have a couple comments here from someone named Hilda
Yeah,
Bevan.
Hilda is one of our awesome followers. Hilda says no cartoons on this list. What the fuck? Marceline from Adventure Times, and then she clarifies that she's just kidding, and she says, "Great picks so far, fellas."
Yo, if
So
we were doing TV,
I-
doing TV, Marceline would be on my list.
I
And she-
asked Neri to clarify the other day if this was just movies and there was no chance that we were going to include TV for that pick specifically.
Hilda then says Gary Oldman as Dracula was epic. Yeah, Hilda's one of our favorites. She's one of our. We need to have her on Kickflix, but she keeps rejecting me. It's all right, Hilda.
No. Yeah, we gotta have her on.
Anyways, so yeah, no, my number one, I enjoyed both those movies. Monster Squad still holds up legitimately. I love that movie. I showed it to my kids not too long ago. It was great. But my number one is the one and only Blade from Blade. I mean, that's
I knew it would be your number one. That's why I didn't feel bad leaving him off my list, and I switched some things around.
Legit.
From the
He was
first Blade,
he
right?
was actually gonna be my number two, and then I thought, no, like the more I thought about it, I was like, no, Blade is my number one. But I had him down as my number. But yeah,
There's
he's
a
fucking
reason we're
great.
watching Blade on Wednesday. And what's up, bro? Check out our Instagrams
Yeah.
for information.
Kickflix and Woobro crossover watch party. So make sure you guys check that out. Anyways, but Blade is phenomenal. It's fantastic. It brought. I mean, that movie's great and the movie's fantastic, but that character is so great. And I feel real bad because Wesley Snipes really thought he was that character. Really, right? There's a lot of stories of like in part 3, like he was.
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, all right, whatever, fine.
Yeah, now
I'm gonna.
That's also that was also an honorable mention is Jonathan Lipnicki as
Man, I feel weird.
Yeah, no, dude, you're right. Blade is it's such a rad character. Like, he brings the martial arts, he brings the one-liners. I mean, let's face it, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
One of the best lines. I would the only thing about this movie I would challenge. I think that if we're talking about just pure vampires, Deacon Frost is a way like dope. Like, I like the villain. He's so good as a villain in that movie that it makes Blade better.
That's Steven Dorff, right?
Steven Dorff. Yeah.
I agree with you. Jeff and I had that same conversation. He's like, I told him I was gonna put Blade, and he was like, I don't know, fucking Steven Frost, bro, fucking Frost. And I was like, look, man, I just here's the thing that killed Frost for me, both literally and figuratively, is the way he died in that movie. I was like, oh, this is so cheap. That's the one part of that movie I didn't like. The one thing I didn't like, and it's not even one of those things where the effects don't age well. No, bro. I remember watching that movie for the first time the year it came out, and I was like, "What the fuck was that? That shit looked awful from the jump. Just the effects of him blowing, whatever."
I have the DVD of that movie, and there's a whole alternate ending where he turns into like this blood cyclone, and the effects wouldn't have been good enough in that moment. So that's what you got. And imagine how bad the other thing would have been.
Yeah. I've never seen the alternate ending, but I would love that. But anyways, going back to Blade's fantastic. He's phenomenal. He has the one-liners. The movie's great. I love that movie so much, but just the character is really good. And again, he took it too serious. He thought this motherfucker thought he was Blade. This shit is hilarious. There's stories of him getting notes from the director, and he wouldn't reply or respond to anything when they called him Wesley. They had to call him Blade.
And everybody knows vampires don't pay income taxes, and look at how that worked out for him.
Exactly. Which led to one of the best lines in Expendables. Got to be honest. Expendables 3, when they got him out of that prison, when they got him out of the train, that prison train. Wesley Snipes. The rest of the guys got Wesley Snipes' character out of the prison train in Expendables 3, and they go, "What were you in prison to begin with?" And he looked dead out at the camera, and he goes, "Tax evasion." I was like, "Fucking good for you, sir."
He was also really great as like a day-walking vampire in that one scene that he had in that one episode of What We Do in the Shadows.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so fucking good. What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, is so good that I kind of forgot about What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. Like I know when you brought it, and I was just like, I can't. I mean, this dude Daytona. I mean, that's the best.
Oh,
I can't
man.
even-
Human bartender, Jackie Daytona.
Anyways, so Blade's my number one for obvious reasons. He's great. He's fantastic. I love everything about him. All right. So do we have any repeats here? Yeah, we have a couple, right? We have a couple.
Lestat and
Lestat and
Satanica.
Satanica.
I like the fact that I'm trying to put Blade, and for some reason I wrote Drake. Same thing. He's a daywalker. He's a half breed.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. No. Fix it in post.
That wasn't a race thing. I was talking about him being fucking liked by half the population. Jesus Christ, man.
Okay. Whatever you say.
All right. Whatever you guys say, racist people. I literally talked about N-word Jim. I literally talked about N-word Jim on this episode, and you think I'm backtracking on Drake? Is that what you think I'm doing? I'm backtracking on Drake? Okay. So we have Lestat as a double, and we had Salma Hayek, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Say the name.
I don't know the
Say
name.
Say the name.
Panico Pandemonium.
So we've got 3 versions of Dracula.
I think Dracula needs to make it. I don't know that we need to give an actual version of him, just Dracula.
Dracul.
Yeah.
Dracul. I don't know. I think that's whatever. If you guys want to do
Dracula. I don't like. I would not. I'd say we have to pick one.
Yeah, that's just.
I don't think we can. I don't think we could just say blanket because they're very different. Coming from the guy who picked Dracula.
Coming from the guy who picked Leslie Nielsen.
Right.
Yeah, they're very different.
I'd actually be okay with Leslie Nielsen. I'd be okay with Gary Oldman. I mean, obviously, my pick would be Christopher Lee, but I think I'm probably the only one who's seen any of the Christopher Lee ones, with the exception of maybe Daniel.
Oh no, I saw them.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I liked them. I just saw them. I'm not talking bad about them.
I also don't believe you.
I would. What were the other ones? So like, I think Lestat,
Gary Oldman, Christopher Lee, and
Lestat's already on there.
Yeah, Lestat's in.
Lestat and Salma Hayek are in. There's Blade. There's all the Draculas. David Powers from The Lost Boy. Maximilian from Vampire in Brooklyn. Jerry Dadrich from Fright Night. Ellie from Let the Right One In, Baby. Wilhelmina Harker from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Carmilla Karstein from A Porn. And Whistler from Blade 2. And Mark Kendall from Once Bitten.
I'm gonna go to bat for Wilhelmina Harker. I like that one.
I think we should have a female on the list. Not trying to be too.
We realize there's one that has 2 votes already.
Yeah, Salma Hayek and Lestat.
Right.
Those are the 2.
And you were saying we should have a female. I was saying we
Salma
already
Hayek.
have
I'm sorry. I just see her as a monster. You're right. I apologize. I'm sorry. I see her as the character she played, not as the gender she was. I apologize. I'm sorry. You're right. All right. So which one do you guys? I'm sorry.
So if I were I agree. I think that we need to find a way to get a Dracula on there. But if I were gonna pick one that wasn't a Dracula that somebody else had picked, I think that the pick of Wilhelmina Harker is great. I think that it takes the idea of the vampire and twists it more so than any of the other picks we've had, except for Blade. But it does it with a classic vampire. And so I could get behind Wilhelmina Harker making it, just because we always talk about the out of the box picks, and I think that thinking of that one and the way that she's done in that movie definitely counts as out of the box.
Yes, I picked that one too.
I don't disagree.
I've never seen it, but I'm all for it. I'm just want to see how many white people are going to make this list. Go ahead. Anybody else want to go for any other picks? I agree. Dracula has to be on this list. Just up to you guys.
I think
I'm the only one who
Stoker
didn't pick Dracula,
is the classic one.
but you guys pick. It's up to you guys.
Bram Stoker, I think, is the more household name.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee, I think, set the groundwork, but I think the Gary Oldman as Dracula is the one that's going to be more that's more recognizable.
Yeah, I back that one up.
All right. Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah, Mike, you should watch Dracula Untold. That shit is dope, man.
Yeah, it really fucking is.
The two movies, so I'm gonna have to
I went and
watch.
saw that shit in theaters.
I did it only because I didn't have time, but I remember watching it. I remember buying it right after it came out on video, and I was like, this shit is awesome. And I remember watching it on my iPad going like, fuck, I should have watched this in theaters, man.
Yeah,
I was verbally saying that as I was watching these giant fucking epic fight scenes, like these war scenes, and I'm
like Lord of the Rings, like battle scenes.
Yeah, it's great.
Dracula Untold. Let me look for it.
I'm adding it to the list. Final Mountain is I feel really bad. I just don't know some Hayek's character's name. I can't remember it for the life of me. I want to be the guy that's like correctly saying these names. I wrote down every other name, even though I know I massacred the spellings. But at least
Pandemonium.
What is it?
Santanico Pandemonium.
Santanico Pandemonium from Dusk Till Dawn. Lestat from Interview with a Vampire. Wilhelmina Harker from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Dracula from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah, that's with my left center picks. I knew I wasn't gonna get. But go watch fucking One Spin. It's not good. I want to tell you. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you check out the other podcasts on the Geek Bro Network. Go to geekbro.net. Check out the other podcasts that include, but are not limited to, the Better Let Me Tell You podcast, the What's Up Bro podcast, Shiver, the horror movie podcast, Kick Flicks,
Crimacopia,
and a Chow Like a Best with Mike Valdez, and Crimacopia. So make sure you guys check that out. Go to geekbro.net. Check that out. And like as Mike alluded to earlier, we will be on Wednesday. Mike and I, along with Jeff, will be watching on Wednesday. We'll be doing a watch party for the movie Blade for 1994. Yeah, 1994's Blade. And we will be doing a watch party, part of a Kickflix / Woo Bro mix crossover. So make sure you check that out. And I forgot the name of the it's Teleparty. Yeah, TELE party.com. Download it. It's free. Just put it on your browser, and then if you do that now, which takes all of 2 minutes, on Wednesday when I send out the link, you guys can all watch it with us, and we'll be watching it live. Thank you guys for checking us out. Make sure you check out geekbro.net, and that's how lists are made.